everybody says, how's the market? Well, what zip code are you at?
Yeah.
That's pretty much the question. I started in real estate in 2005 after a career of both being in the executive world, climbing the corporate ladder, and then being an entrepreneur myself, starting a business, building that up. And then I figured out that I was old. And it was time to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Yep.
So I became a real estate agent in 2005. Um, of course, that was the perfect time to get in the market right before the biggest crash that it had ever seen. We became a huge listing broker for HUD. That's why our footprint expanded that large.
Mm-hmm.
And we sold several thousand properties for HUD. And almost as quickly as that came upon us, that went away.
Yeah.
My background has construction and remodeling in my background. So the natural shift to that was working over to new homes. And that's how I'm helping our brokerage go as well, is moving into that new home market. Of course, we still do all the traditional real estate, things, but so it's a pretty interesting transition, though, going from let's buy these cheap homes to
well, and it's so interesting to kind of speak on what you're talking about, how everything is just so cyclical. I remember, so in 2005, I was working at the Pines at Tuttle Crossing, so under Newberry Homes at the time, and market was great. And so they were building, and they had condos, and then the crash happened. And really the apartment community is kind of what helped keep that company afloat. And now, and I remember when the crash happened, our builders suffered horribly. And now we're back to the way that things are. We love our builders again, and the market needs our new builders. And so it's just interesting to kind of see that ebb and flow. And Ankur, I look forward to kind of talking to you more about that too. So Rich, with the lack of inventory for the amount of buyers in the market, kind of talk to me about what you and your team are personally experiencing on the front lines and some of the ways you're rising to overcome this challenge as best you can.
Well, I started out this particular stretch with a full head of hair. So the market is insane in most of the areas that we cover.
Yeah.
Now, in some of the smaller rural communities, it's different, but I presume you're talking about the Columbus market and the surrounding area that you want to focus in on, obviously. So in the Columbus market, I don't think anybody could have ever imagined a more perfect storm. Interest rates being low and inventory being short, and then combine that with I don't want people in my home. It was kind of funny well, it's not funny, but it is just an interesting way to look at it. We had agents that it was, I used to joke that, they would get uptight turning on a computer, and they went from that to being experts in doing Zoom showings. The key that I've always found that works, I tell everybody I'm a horrible salesperson. I'm a better educator than I am a salesperson. So whether it be working with a buyer and educating the buyer about the market, knowing what's out there, understanding what it takes, whether it be working with Ankur and his team and telling them, here's where the statistics say that the market is going, or using just some of that good old-fashioned hard work and getting out on the ground and talking to people and those kind of things, and then bringing that back to educate people about what to expect. And in the seller's end of it, there's a massive amount of education that's required, because hey, I would love to be able to cash out some of the equity in my home. The interest rates are super low. I can now go and buy something that I've always dreamt of buying that I could never do before.
Yeah.
But what am I going to buy? And that's where the building end of it really comes in. Because to be dead honest with you, the inventory that does come on the market for a lot of the clients that I'm working with doesn't fit what their now needs are. You know,
Yeah.
when was the last time that any real estate agent had someone come to them and say, I want a mother-in-law suite, 2 offices, and I'd like to have that all on a pond overlooking trees? There's only so many of those that are going to occur. And if you truly listen to your seller or buyer or client overall, if you listen to them a lot, you're going to figure out that, you know, this buyer is much more savvy than they ever were.
Yeah. Yes. That's a factor as well. You're exactly right.
So, you know, information has never been easier to find. Now,
Yeah.
the bane of my existence is bad information that's out there. You know, I can go in and offer 20% less than price on a house that hasn't been improved. No, you can't.
Right. Not anymore. You can't. That's right. That's right.
But I'm even seeing investors looking at new build as
Oh,
an
wow.
option. And you know, that has never really been a true option unless you're building apartment complexes or
Yeah.
multifamily.
Yeah.
So we've never seen anything like this. But you know, if you want my magic sauce is always going to come back to listen, and then educate, and then listen again after. If you provide people with good tools to make good decisions, it's amazing how good of decisions they do make. I can't make a decision as to what is a pretty kitchen for someone.
Sure. Sure.
My opinion doesn't count, but I can tell them how to get a good equity position in building their home and taking advantage of the equity position when they sell their existing. That's a case of education.
Yeah, Rich, that's so good. I mean, you really you really tied that up in a neat little package there and got to the heart of the matter. I'm with you on that. That's really good advice. Ankur, he is part of AR Homes here locally. And if you don't follow them on social media, please follow them. They have absolutely beautiful, beautiful homes. So I want you to tell us about yourself and talk to us about your homes and how you're helping with the current housing shortage.
Sure. Thanks for having me today. So I'm Ankur Gupta. I'm one of the owners of the AR Homes franchise here, and we're based in Dublin. Our office and design center is in the Dublin area. I've been a Dublin resident since I moved to Columbus in 2001, so 20 years. Before that, I grew up in Miami, Florida. And I moved here because I had a different job when I moved here. I worked in IT as a software developer. You know, when I moved here, I was managing large IT projects. I have a family, 3 kids, ages between 13 and 4. So we have
you have a 4-year-old? I didn't know that.
So we have a pretty busy household. And so, you know, the AR Homes franchise, we're basically a custom home builder, and we build pretty much in all of Central Ohio. We have lot positions in a variety of communities.
Okay.
New Albany, Jerome Village, Evans Farm, which is in Lewis Center, Beulah Park, which is in Grove City. We're also an on your lot builder. So if a customer comes to us and they have a land position or a lot position, we definitely will build their home for them on that land or lot. We're getting ready to start a home in Hocking Hills, so we will venture out a little bit.
Oh wow!
And, so you know, we enjoy you know, bringing the wants for each customer to reality, and you know, as a custom home builder, you know, it's kind of along the same lines of what Rich was talking about. I just don't see myself as a home builder, right? So that's why Rich and I work really well together. We have the same thought of you want to listen. What are your clients trying to achieve? Because not every build is a right solution for them. So you have to understand, what are their goals? Is it a timeline requirement? Is it a budget requirement? And try to cater their build based on those requirements. So,
Ankur, what are your price points for your new builds, and what kind of sets you apart from other builders in Columbus?
So our price points vary. Again, it's, we're building homes in the 500,000, 600,000, 700,000 price point, and we can go up to as big of a home as you want. We have two large builds that we're building. One is 10,000 square feet, another is 12,000 square feet. So obviously those have larger price tags.
Wow, yeah.
But again, for us, it's about understanding the market, and with the COVID environment, it's been about understanding what are customers looking for, which alluded to mother-in-law suites and two offices, and bringing new ideas that are more necessary to the market, and then also addressing the whole issue with the housing shortage. What can we do as a builder to help our clients get what they need, whether it's from a price point perspective or having more inventory in the market? So those are all the challenges that over the last 12 to 6 months we've been addressing.
Yeah.
As far as, what are the advantages of building with us? So building a custom home is a complicated process. And a lot of times the initial meeting that we have with customers are very anxious about the process. And is it going to cost more throughout the process? How long is it going to take? And our process, our product is really fantastic. If you haven't had a chance to see it, then you should come out to one of our models and take a look at it. We're currently building one in New Albany right now. But so our process is also very key to us. Getting customers from I want this or I need this to actual delivered product is as important to us. I don't want a customer to go through the process and feel like I'm never going to do this again, because it was very time consuming and it was stressful. And our process is geared to eliminate that. So we try to take as much unpredictability out of building a custom home as possible. And that comes with upfront pricing. So we try to include everything that you see in our model home in your initial quote. So if a customer walks in and they want to build one of the houses that we have in our collection, I can give them a quote upfront to build that home. Awesome. With the finishes of our model. And that's where we start. We're not going to give you a very low price and then ask you to upgrade everything. We're going to give you the model finishes and then work with you to make smart decisions. If it's a budget requirement, if it's a design requirement, what are the smart decisions to achieve your goals?
I love that. I remember the first time that we had a conversation, something that just stuck out to me about you and your partner and the team there is just your meticulous approach with a heart behind it. You just really kind of drew me in. Anytime I've talked to you, you live, breathe, eat, AR homes. And I personally need to come out. Well, I made a note for us to connect about, I'd love to walk one of your models, but you do such a good job. Again, follow them on social media. And you'll really get an idea of kind of that quality and that feel and that high end and that attention to detail that you guys offer. Very exciting. So, Rich, I want to ask you, how are you managing reviewing the number of offers you receive on a listing?
Put them into a big hat, shake it up.
You assign a number to each one.
Really, each individual client is different, and it comes back to listening. I always explain things better when I tell stories, so kind of bear with me a little bit. One client I had was strictly focused on getting the highest net dollar amount. They already had a second apartment. They had already made arrangements to move. They had already thought that through, primarily because that's what I told them they had to do if they wanted to only go for top dollar. And so that's really easy. Obviously, you put it into a spreadsheet, count it out, and thank you very much, right? However, believe it or not, that's the minority of clients.
Yeah. Mhm.
The majority of clients are, every client will always tell you, I want the biggest top dollar. And I don't want to move twice. And I want to build my new home, and I want to have complete flexibility of when possession turns over. And I don't want to repair anything. Okay, you get to pick two. Okay. And again, that's an educational process. Of course, we're going to look for the highest dollar figure. That's the no-brainer, right? But more importantly is to understand. So I'll use a situation that's very close to me, relative, okay? Health condition involved.
Yeah.
Literally couldn't move twice.
Yeah.
Had a really smart realtor that laid out the numbers of what it would cost to put stuff in storage and do all the things that are involved. And when you added those numbers up, let alone the inconvenience, it added up to about $12,000. So it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the client was building a new home with complete unpredictability about the exact closing date. Now, any good builder, once they get to a particular point, can give you a closing date. But when you're initially talking about this, you're talking about, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 18 months, depending on the complexity of what you're building. Well, in that particular situation, we laid out priorities of what the priority terms were. And I just laid it out up front in the MLS. If you're going to send me an offer where you're expecting, well, I didn't put it as bluntly as this, but I said, but basically what I put in the MLS is don't send me an offer that doesn't have flexible possession, because that's important to this client. Conversely, on the buyer side, it's important when I'm representing a buyer to contact that agent. And
Yeah.
it's one thing to ask, it's another thing to really, impress upon them that your buyer is willing to be flexible in getting that home deal.
Yeah.
And my client accepted an offer that was $8,000 less because, number one, it was cheaper. It would have cost $12,000, let alone the other stuff. But on top of that, they just plain were not going to do that double move thing.
Yeah.
So took less money. Now, in that particular situation, it was a cash offer, and of course, cash is king. So, but we're seeing so many creative things out there in the market right now, both on the seller side and the buyer side.
Yeah.
Because to be dead honest with you, you can either fall victim to this perfect storm, or you can strategically take advantage of the strategic or of the perfect storm. And it's up to the I'm going to brag a little bit on agents here. It's never been more important to have really good representation that understands those dynamics.
Yes.
To give you good advice. And that goes not just in the traditional home seller, home buyer market. Building a home, holy cow, is that important. And then, like me, I represent Ankur in deals going out looking for land, or we represent him working with another agent that brings a deal to the table. And it's two different ways of thinking. You either think of it as how to solve problems, or you think of it as how to benefit yourself. If you think about how to solve problems, the other will take care of itself. If you think about how to build business, if you think about how to do this and do that, and you don't look at how to solve problems, okay, meaning listening to the client, listening to the builder, listening to the parties. If you don't think about those things, you're going to die on the vine. It used to be you'll die on the vine because there's no buyers in the market. And then now there's no sellers in the market. I have an easy solution for any of your listeners that are grappling with what to do in this market. Solve problems, be a helper. The money comes. That money is how we keep score.
Yeah.
But yes, we need to pay our mortgage, right?
Yeah. That's
But-
Rich. I love it. And as I have conversations, that is definitely one of the overarching themes. I think if any agent that's worth their that's worth their salt, quite frankly, that's their approach. And anybody that's been in it as long as you have, that is the approach you have to take all the time. But I think in an environment like this, it really kind of weeds out the heart of an agent. Are you in it as a career and to help people and really make this community better, or are you in it just to collect a paycheck? And if you're just in it just to collect a paycheck, it's too hard. Like, it's not worth it. It's too
I can
difficult.
make a lot more money doing other things just to collect a paycheck.
Yeah, with less stress.
Yeah. Like I said, I had hair. But
Well, great answer.
everybody looks for the angle. The angle on things is really simple. Ask people what their problem is and solve their problem.
Yeah.
And I don't care if it's working with AR Homes and working with Ankur. I ask him what his problem is and I work to try to solve his problem. If I'm working with a home seller that has certain needs, I don't want to pull my kids out of school. And it's, October when I'm putting my house on the market.
Yeah.
Okay, now what?
Right.
Rich, I have a problem. Can you help me solve it?
Sure.
I've got a birthday party on Saturday at 10 and a kid's doubleheader baseball game at 11.
Clone yourself. They're working on this whole clone thing. So
Yeah. That's well, and I'm going to actually ask you guys a question about time. Ankur, I'm going to shift this back to you and ask you, is there a detail that you wish agents and clients understood when it comes to the home building process that you can help us understand?
A lot of it goes back to what Rich is, alluding to. You have to learn how to listen. What are the key things that is impacting a client in their current living situation, and what are they trying to solve? It always comes, you always have to find, what's the need first, and then let it evolve into wants. Each client has their own personality, their own living situation, and you have to be an active and you have to be a good listener.
Yeah.
And then you have to follow up, right? Clients, we're all so busy in this market. This market is so crazy. But each client still needs to feel like they're the most important client that you have. So follow-up has to be done really well. And, and again, that's alluding to our process. We like to make sure clients are aware of what's going on with their build. I personally manage every project. I send them a status report every other week, detailing out, where are we with the build and what are our issues that we're facing. So again, it's communication. It's really being actively involved and engaged with every customer.
Ankur, do you have like a personal feel-good story where you were, this is a process. You're in the trenches with people, you're helping dreams come true. One of my dreams is to someday have a new build. So do you have I don't know, just like a feel-good story where you started with a couple or a family and followed it all the way through, and then the result was just absolutely beautiful and they were just over the moon? Do you have a story?
Yeah, we've had a couple of instances, especially in this COVID environment, where there was a family who built with us in Evans Farm, and they loved our model home that we had there, and they fell in love with the home and our process, and and they wanted us to build their home.
Yeah.
But they had, their goal was a specific budget. That was their target. That was their main driving forces. We have to stay within this budget. So, it took us 3 to 4 months to get there, but we figured out what are the smart decisions in getting you to this price point. Yeah, as a builder, I had to give up some things to make that happen. But, that was, seeing that how interested they were in us really helps inspire us as a builder to make their dreams come true.
Well, and again, you're just kind of reiterating for me. I feel like your home building process is such a boutique-like approach, very hands-on, very personal, and again, just with care. So I love hearing you talk about what you're doing, because it's, being a home builder can be very challenging. And just with my experience in the market over the last 10 years and working for a home builder, and it can be challenging and it can be really hard. And sometimes things are out of your control, Ankur. And the only position that you have is to just, again, it comes down to that communication and setting the expectations. And
exactly.
So it's really great to speak to you this morning and just kind of what you have to offer, what you're currently going through in this market, and rising to those challenges as well.
Yeah, for me, this was not my job when I first started working out of college. So this is something that I've chosen to do.
Yeah.
As I matured and understood what do I like to do.
Yeah.
As Rich mentioned, once I grew up. So it's the work I do is really driven out of passion. And hopefully it shows in our business and how we approach it.
For sure. Gentlemen, what do you consider a formula to success? So Rich, as you look back over your life and career, do you have non-negotiables that you live by, or a general formula to your success that you try to follow?
Well, it's kind of funny. Sometimes people end up adopting some of my sayings that are out there. My assistant will tell you that my favorite saying is, "We'll figure it out."
Yeah.
Setting up rigid guidelines. So for example, if a new agent comes to me and they say, "I want to make $100,000 a year," which that's a common thing, I can run the stats. I know the stats. I know what they need to do. I can take it down to what you need to do every day to make $100,000. Now, are you willing to do it?
Yeah.
Is the question. And I always have to ask myself, what is the balance that I'm willing to put forth between, certainly I have goals. Okay. But at this point in my life, I'm more concerned about taking care of my wife. I'm more concerned about spending more time with her. I'm more concerned about how I go to bed each night with a smile on my face than I am about counting the dollars I put into the bank account.
Yeah.
And the crazy part about it was, when I did that, when I made that shift, I used to be truly, Katie, I used to be one of the most money hungry individuals that you have ever seen on the face of the earth. And when I made that transition and said, I'm going to take care of me, I'm going to take care of my family, I'm going to do things that excite me, that really interest me. So side note, I got tired of sitting in CE classes that were boring. So I decided to go out and teach CE, because you get credit when you teach class. But doing those things, my income skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Instead of, it was a really, really strange transition. And it took me a long time in the real estate world to figure out that the hustle and the grind and the this and the, I was that guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I would strap on a football helmet and run through a block wall to get to a dollar bill on the other side. And then I'd wonder why I had a headache.
Yeah.
when I decided I, I'll keep it PG here, but I have a no pain in the, you know what, clause. If someone's a pain in the tail, I don't work with them. And I have to create enough activity so that I don't have to. And if someone has an unrealistic expectation, you know, I want to build a brand new home in Dublin schools for $150,000. Okay, guess what? You know, I did a very poor job of educating that person, because I've set them up for failure if that's their expectation. But making that shift was the key to really, it was an unexpected consequence. I was prepared to take the hit on my income, but my income doubled.
You know what you're describing is, I'm a reader, and I'm trying to get back to doing that, but I read a book that was gifted to me from a realtor friend, and it's called The Go-Giver.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you're describing. You're describing the concepts in that book. And I think you also, I feel like, described the kind of general nature and maturity of an entrepreneur, where, and I think success is redefined in all of our lives, depending on what season that we're in. You know, as a younger person, it looks different. And then as you get older and you have this perspective shift of, oh yeah, I'm not going to be here forever, and maybe I should try to find more balance in my life and enjoy people around me. I couldn't agree more. I feel like you genuinely like described the journey of a person in their life. Good stuff.
Well,
It's really good stuff. Ankur,
you
what about
mentioned,
you?
You know, I'm a throughout my life, I've always been a planner. You know, maybe a little bit OCD of myself.
Which makes you a good builder.
Yeah, no, I'm a checklist person. I create a checklist for everything I have to do. The first thing on my checklist is create a checklist. So, you know, I'm very much of a planner, and I like things to be organized and well thought out. And I always look at, you know, what's on the horizon.
Yeah.
Whether it's in my business or at home, you know, and a lot of that has been applied to how we run our business, because I like our contractors who work for us, our employees who work for us, to understand that it's not just about fulfilling your job responsibilities. It's about, you know, taking the extra steps to make sure everything goes as expected. For example, if a painter is painting a wall and there's a gouge in that wall because someone nicked it with something,
Yeah.
my expectation is the painter calls me and tells me this needs to be fixed before I paint the wall, and not just paint it. And we expect that from every contractor. So, you know, it's about caring about your job and caring about the work and making sure that, you know, you take pride in it.
Yeah.
And so that's always been a driving factor, is you know, planning and making sure that you enjoy what you do, whether it's with family or at work. And, you know, surround yourself with people who have the same vision and mentality.
So good. I think another theme that's coming up as I have conversations is just the importance of the relationships that you have and that trust. And, you know, you obviously, both of you have a wonderful relationship. You trust each other. You trust each other's, you know, quality of work and level of professionalism and care. And it's finding those people that you want to work with. And Rich, you mentioned, you know, I think also this is the journey of a realtor as they get longer into their career, where you start qualifying those that you want to work with. You know, business is enjoyable when you're working with like-minded people and they're willing to kind of be at that same level as you. There's definite beauty in that for sure. Trying to figure out which way I want to go with the next question. Have you gentlemen in this market seen a peer, like Rich, for you, if you're doing a deal with another agent, have you been inspired by either a creative approach from another agent or just a circumstance that really kind of stands out to you as of late pertaining to what we're in right now?
Uh, yes, there is some creativity that's coming up. There's, let me start with the negative, go to the positive.
Okay, I like it.
Um, the easiest thing in the world is to pick up the phone and call me on one of my listings to ask what the priorities are. And, you know, I've had agents send me offers that, to be dead honest with you, if they were working for me, I would hunt them down and beat them silly, because some of the things they're putting into these offers are nuts, completely nuts. And my client doesn't care. Where if they would pick up the phone and call me, they would find out that my client has priorities, because I've qualified that client and I've asked their permission to share those priorities with, you know, other folks.
Yeah.
So sometimes the creativity becomes over creativity. It's placing your own biases and your own thoughts. You know, everybody wants the highest price. No, they don't. Okay.
Right.
So the most creative thing that people can actually do that's effective is pick up the phone and call me. Okay. Now let's transition to the other side, to the positive. I have seen some really creative ways to make cash offers. There are people pulling together coalitions of family members to help purchase, and then the young folks will cash out refi later. We actually have pursued exclusive rights to a financing mechanism where a company will purchase someone's home to give them the cash to then be able to make cash offers on the backside. Yes, there's a fee involved, but okay, it's less than that $12,000 that I told you about when it's moving twice. We have seen, you know, I've seen a lot of very creative situations in the building end of things where someone has a house to sell. What's that timing? How does that timing work? Okay. Material shortages, labor shortages, all of those things. That creativity really gets tested when you say it's going to close between 12 and 14 months. Now what? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's really, it's been an adventuresome journey for my agents. It certainly has been an adventure for me, because the hardest creativity I've had to do is take my personal thoughts and set them aside and quit trying to project those onto the client.
Yeah.
Because the one thing that's come out of the pandemic is people have become very blunt.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You're right.
And when it comes time and I'm trying to project something that I think on them, people have been very clear. Rich, it's time for you to shut up. And okay, I have to both admire that, because it makes my job actually easier when they do that. And the backside of that, I have to take my big, massive, giant ego and chop it down myself, because I mean, there's going to be long-lasting changes that come out of this whole ordeal that we've come out of.
Yeah, you're seeing it and you're feeling it. And anytime that a challenge arises, like the way that we're in, people bring creative solutions that can ruffle some feathers, that are very non-traditional, that I think the knee-jerk reaction to some of the solutions we might see arise is, well, you can't do that. That's never been done before. But I am feeling
famous last words.
Right.
You know, I kind of joke, that the hard will take 2 weeks, the impossible will take a month. That's how fast things are moving.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I have to laugh because we're moving into text marketing, and we're moving into bypass the call and leave a voicemail marketing, and all these crazy solutions. And then you turn around and you actually ask the client what they want, and they just want a real honest person that they have a relationship with.
Mm-hmm. Hallelujah.
So
yeah.
So all the creativity in the world, all this wonderful tech and shiny objects and all the wonderful things that are out there, the easiest thing is still pick up the phone.
Well, and I've heard it said that studies have revealed that people coming into the market to buy, and this is the younger generation, right? They're not looking to replace the agent. They're just looking for more technological tools to have in their hands to help them with that process. So that was a very encouraging and refreshing thing to hear. I certainly hope, I think at the end of the day, we as humans are designed a certain way. We need connection, we need help, we need guidance, we need that expert. I do feel like human beings are irreplaceable. Hallelujah. And there is something to be said for experience, and just, a computer, there's just no way they're going to be able to communicate the nuances of every single transaction. I liken a real estate transaction to a woman's pregnancy. It's not the same, but every single one is completely different. Every labor and delivery is different. Every experience is different, but it's the same, but it's different. So, Ankur, I want to ask you the same question, but a little bit differently. I know the talk of the market right now is also just the increase in material prices and labor shortages and things like that. Can we just address the elephant in the room a little bit? How are you guys managing that? How is it affecting you?
So, again, it goes back to educating clients, right? One of the big advantages of us being a franchisee of AR Homes is the pricing that we get. So AR Homes is a large national company. They're one of the largest privately held custom luxury builder in the country. They have 55 franchisees, and they did $600 million in business last year.
Wow.
So their negotiating and buying power is fairly strong.
Wonderful.
Right? They can go to a lumber company or a roofing company or a cabinet company, and they negotiate pricing for all of their franchisees, and that includes locking in pricing. So it's been a huge advantage over the last 12 months because we're able to get we've been able to avoid some price increases. And then at the same time, AR is able to inform us of potential upcoming price increases in the future.
Great.
So again, it goes back to just educating customers about where are we with pricing today and where do we anticipate going. We have the data, we have the analytics behind it.
Wonderful.
Because we are part of the larger ARH family. We have targeted pricing for our customers, and we're trying to manage that to the best ability that we can. But there's a strain on both labor and there's a strain on materials. I'm praying to God the hurricane season is a calm season, because if it's not, lumber prices are going to be impacted, and lumber availability is going to be impacted. That's the next thing for us to watch.
Yeah.
So again, it's a challenging environment to build in, both from a pricing standpoint and a timing standpoint. And it just goes back to making sure customers are aware, they're educated about it. And a lot of that goes hand in hand in working with realtors. We have clients who have never built a home. As we're seeing a lot of relocation people moving in, I've had clients move from New York City who have never lived in a home. They've always lived in apartments, and they don't even know what the red flag on the mailbox means. Wow. So, it's about working hand in hand with realtors to make sure that clients are educated and they understand that process, and they understand the challenges.
Wonderful. I love it. All right, gentlemen, I think I'm going to shift because I think we could talk for 2 hours. I'm going to shift into some fun questions. Before I do, any final thoughts pertaining to business that you'd like to give?
I'd like to give here's something that is really important for your listeners to understand. AR Homes has always been known for those big, giant, lovely homes. What they don't realize is, when you're looking for something that's in that more moderate price point, that is within their capability as well. And so I want to give a shout out to Ankur. He's going to be very modest about things, but they truly are trying to solve a lot of the problems that are out there. Not just only take the cream of the crop, and they're working on some very innovative things, and I've been helping them to do that. So that's a little behind the scenes type thing. The product that they offer is very, very diverse. Everybody always thinks of those big, beautiful homes, and I'm sure Ankur would love it if he could build 40 or 50 $7 million homes.
Yeah. That comes with its own challenges though, right?
Yeah.
But the true reality of moving into some of these more affordable price points is that agents have to realize that is offered by the company. And so again, pick up the phone.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Rich. Thank you so much. And again, just in conversations that I've been a part of, that 5, 6, 7 price range, it's so interesting how the market shifts. How 2 years ago that price point sat on the market, and I'm not talking about a new build, but just a house on the market, that price point sat way longer than, and now they're being sucked up like that. I live in a new build. We're renting a new build right now in Mitchell Crossing, and the house across from me, it's about to go on the market for like $700,000. And I don't know, they'll probably get it too. So yeah, it's just so interesting. It's definitely a day by day, take this day by day, deal by deal, client by client, and just try to show up the best you can every day. Because I think also just the emotional side of this, you guys are like superheroes to me. I gotta be, I mean, you really are. Not only are you managing the emotions of your clients, your peers, you're a person too. And, having to show up in the way that this market is demanding that you show up on the daily. Don't forget about you. Don't forget about taking care of yourself and your emotional well-being, because I know this is challenging. So thank you for the work you're doing, first of all. All right, let's have some fun, and then I'll let you guys go about your day here. I do love supporting local business. So is there a restaurant or a place that you love in your community you'd like to recommend to us? I love trying new places.
I'll let Rich go first when I think.
Okay.
How long do you have?
You got 60 seconds.
I love finding little hole in the wall places.
I have
Hickory,
I know what Rich is going to say. Well, let's see.
Hickory House in Gahanna, by far, best ribs ever.
Never heard of it.
There's a Ritzy's.
Hickory House in Gahanna. Okay.
For those who are old like me, there's a GD Ritzy's back in town. It's in Clintonville. Best chocolate ice cream that ever existed on the face of the earth. And that was certified. That was a national thing back when in younger days.
Wow, I do remember that name.
Son of Thurman in Delaware, up here where I live, or the Thurman Cafe in German Village.
Yeah.
Of course, Chipotle. Ankur's gonna make me say Chipotle. He knows it. But there are, if anybody wants to learn about a community, go find the little tiny hole in the wall place and sit down and have dinner or lunch, and you'll learn more about a community in your lunchtime than you will in all the research you can do. It's amazing. I have to admit, I wasn't as familiar with Grove City as I wanted to be. So there's all kinds of little hole in the wall places that
Yeah.
are on my list to drop by.
Yeah.
Also, one last one right beside Son of Thurman. There's a little Cajun restaurant
Yes.
on
Is it Jay Gumbo's?
J Gumbo. Now that's a franchise, but the gentleman who owns that particular franchise here in Delaware is one of the best human beings that exists on the face of the earth. His involvement with the autistic community and utilizing his workforce, he is a beautiful human, absolutely beautiful human. So not only is the food good, but you're helping absolutely wonderful, wonderful, wonderful man.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Ankur, what about you? Do you have a recommendation?
So, I'm a pretty simple person. I can go to any restaurant and enjoy any kind of food. My favorite for sure definitely is finding the best sushi restaurant in town that I can find. So I'm always on search. I went to one in the short north a while ago. I think it was like the 129 restaurant or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was really good. But usually, restaurants and us don't go hand in hand unless it's, a restaurant where the kids will sit down and eat. So
yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
Probably favorite restaurant is whatever the kids will sit down and eat. So, otherwise sushi is kind of my go-to when I get a chance to get out.
That's good to know. Good to know. Okay, we're going to do some rapid fire questions. Okay, if you could do anything besides real estate, own a company, be anybody, what would it be? What would you do?
It's easy for me. I would be a teacher.
Ankur, what about you?
So I dabble in a lot of things besides real estate. I actually have a finance degree and I love day trading. I think I was doing some day trading while we were speaking as well. Maybe. So I would probably spend my day doing that. I really enjoy.
Oh, so cool.
Enjoy that
aspect
of the market. So
good to know for when I want to get into something like that. Yeah. I'll ask you about it.
He's really good at it too.
Good to know. You have a favorite movie or book?
I haven't seen a movie in forever. So my movies are going to be much older than your target audience of viewers. Books. I'm a business book person. I've never been a fiction book person. Give and Take by Adam Grant. Then let's see. I'm a human resource nerd, so I've read a lot of those, but that's not going to be of any interest to your listeners. But with all seriousness, if people you mentioned a similar book, but Give and Take, if you read that book, you'll figure it out pretty quick.
Ankur, what about you? Are you a reader or movie watcher?
I used to be.
Yeah.
So
your spare time.
Yeah, movies that are constantly running at home are Moana and Frozen 2. So they're pretty good. We get some other Disney movies every now and then, but usually those are on every weekend. I'm not much of a reader. When I do read, it's about my business or about day trading.
Yeah.
So
I would say that Moana's music is better than Frozen 2.
Yeah.
Somebody can fight me on that. Yeah.
Now you're being controversial, Katie.
I'm gonna get some hate email. What is the bravest thing you've ever done?
Rich?
I'm an adventurer. You know, this face probably doesn't look like the daredevil. I'm scared to death of heights.
Yeah.
So
me
therefore
too.
I seek out things. The one thing I'm more scared of than heights is being afraid of something. So I bungee jumped off the New River Bridge.
Is that in West Virginia? Or
Yep.
Virginia?
They used to have bridge days. Now
Yes,
someone
yes,
got
I've been
killed.
there.
They don't bungee jump off of it anymore. But
Wow. Yeah,
that
that's terrifying.
that was
Mm,
my fingerprints are still in that bridge.
mm,
But that was one.
wow.
Anything that has to do with heights, I consider to be brave.
Yep.
So yeah, that's probably. I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, that's great. Ankur, what about you?
I think you know, the transition to real estate. So, you know, I worked in IT for 20 years, and you know, I made good money at my
Yeah.
occupation.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
you know, I told my wife one day and said, you know, I'm getting tired of doing both real estate and work. I'm going to quit my job.
Wow.
And she was very supportive. And you know, 3 young kids at home, it was kind of a leap of faith. And
Yeah.
you know, like Rich said, you know, we'll figure it out. And so you know, it's been a good journey so far.
Yeah. Okay, I'll ask one last question and then we'll close. Well, 2. Do you have a weird pet peeve?
Weird pet peeve. You know what I'm learning? I'm a pretty boring person.
So, okay, I'll tell you mine. And it's a sensory issue. I have an issue with, I like quiet a lot, but like, even if I love the person, if they are coughing like constantly, I remember when I worked in a traditional office setting and someone was sick and they coughed, like I wanted to jump out of my skin. Like it's a problem.
Imagine what that would be like today.
It's a weird pet
Yeah.
peeve. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll be in church sometimes and someone's coughing and I'm like, oh my gosh.
I remember going into Kroger and right after the stuff hit the fan, and I was standing in one of the aisles. Now I'm a smoker. I do cough. I apologize, Katie. I'm sorry.
We can't ever hang out, Rich. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
we can't hang out. Sorry. But I'm standing in one of the aisles and I had to cough. And I was like, if I do this, I'll create a riot. So I literally walked to the other end of the store as fast as I could, back in the corner, and coughed.
Yeah.
So my pet peeve is the word can't. Period. The end. It sounds like all motivational and all that kind of stuff. The word can't is it makes my skin crawl.
Yeah.
It's how, not can't.
Yeah. How can I? I used to, when I was a sales manager at the title company that I worked for, I would have, you know, we all have limiting beliefs, right? And I remember I'd have a salesperson and they'd be like, well, I can't do this and I can't do that. And I said, no, how can you? But if you change
Exactly.
that dialogue, it's so true. How can you do it?
I don't know who came up with that little correlation there. Whoever came up with that was brilliant, because but now I hear the word can't, and literally that, and the term oh yeah, one more thing drives me nuts.
I have a weird when people say gotcha. I just sounds so like, if either one of you say gotcha all the time, I'm sorry. It just sounds like so unprofessional and dismissive. Like gotcha.
Yeah.
It's a weird pet peeve.
I figured out a long time ago that the smartest people in the room were the ones that didn't impress you as the smartest ones.
Yeah, so true.
And actually that takes me to another pet peeve, and that is anybody who is dismissive of anybody. Every single human being has a place.
Yeah.
When I was in Chicago in my executive world, we established a charity that helped transition hardcore felons to the workforce after being in prison for a long time. These were some of the smartest, most insightful people that I had ever met. And they were hardcore people that made a mistake. So anybody who's dismissive of anyone, jealousy included in that. You know, I'm jealous of what egos, that kind of thing. I joke all the time, my ego is as big as my house, but the reality is that yes, I work 24/7 to keep that in check. And there's a big difference between being confident and being the person I described earlier that I don't work with.
Yeah. It's maturity and growth. Ankur, do you have a pet peeve? A weird pet peeve?
I'm pretty easygoing. You know, for me, it's individuals who think they should get treated differently or treat individuals differently because, you know, hey, I'm building this multi-million-dollar home, and you know, and it's every client's important to me. So it's really about, you know, people who have egos and you know, just don't treat people the way that they should. That really kind of irks me a little bit in dealing with people on a day-to-day basis, whether it's a customer or a vendor or supplier or subcontractor.
Yes.
You know, otherwise, nothing that really irks me more than that.
Well, I'm a total
real estate
weirdo
agent
compared to you. So.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of things Rich does irks me, but he's on the call, so I can't.
Oh, well, gentlemen, I want to thank you both so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to add value and give back to our community today. And especially you, Ankur. Without partners like you, Real Producers does not exist. And you, again, just as a reminder, our partners are referred to us by agents. We only have the best of the best that we feel to refer to you. So our heart is to connect a community of like-minded professionals that give their all to their business and to this community. And you are two of one of those people. So thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you for another Real Talk Real Estate episode, May 25th.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much.